Hey guys, welcome back. Long time no see. Yes, I know it was a long time. I couldn't make a video. Actually, I was involved with a couple, project, and I couldn't make a new video. But now I came back. Even I filled up myself more, and now after this, I try to make my video in a way that help you to be at least an intermediate developer. So you get idea that to be able to work as a team worker. That's why I picked up design pattern subject. Design pattern. I'll go over design pattern today, and we will talk about this part, which is part one and day one of design pattern. We will go over term of design pattern. We try to find out what is it, and look at the history and criticism against that, and even classification of that. Yes, so we don't have any project to start now, but I'll go to text I prepared, and we will go by this star, by this text to one by one. So design pattern. What is design pattern? I start with Christopher Alexander. Christopher Alexander says, each pattern describes a problem which occur over and over again in our environment, and then describe the core of the solution to the problem in such a way that you can use this solution a million times over, without ever doing it the same way twice. This makes it a little bit complicated, but don't worry. This is all about the details. So you, in design pattern, as Christopher Alexander said, you may say, who is Christopher? I'll go in history about and talk about Christopher. So design pattern says it's a typical solution for common occurring problem. So we have a problem, we have a solution for that. This is design pattern. Okay, so in this course, our design patterns will include an intent, motivation, structure, and example and code sample. So intent is include problem and solution. So first of all, for each pattern, we'll go, what's the problem? What's the solution? Even we will bring it for motivation. We will bring up some scenario that you may deal with in real life. And then we'll go over structures. Just give you a graph that how it's gonna, these items work together. And then finally, sample code. Converting this graph to code is very important. I use Swift for now. Later, we will bring up other languages. Okay, history of pattern. So I said Christopher Alexander. Who is Christopher Alexander? He's an architect, and American architect, and he wrote a book. I don't know what was the name. It was 90 something, and in his book, he brought up definition he wrote a book about design pattern, but not design pattern for developers, design pattern for architects, for buildings and cities. But later, around 1995, Gang of Four, Eric, John, Rolf, and Richard picked up this term, and they wrote this book, Design Pattern, Element of Reusable Object-Oriented Software. It's the book. I really recommend you. You don't have to read all, but you need to, recognize it, and sometimes you can use it as a textbook. Yeah, the book featured 23 patterns, which we know them as a 23 classic design patterns. Now, since 1995, these patterns are working over and over, as Christopher said, million times. Excuse me. And solution being used. We know this book as a Gang of Four book. Why should I learn design pattern? Excuse me. So I just give you two reasons. There are a couple more, but you may say, why should I learn this? I can code without this. Yes, even you may use this without knowing, and you invent that yourself. But if you know that, there is two advantages. First of all, These are tried and tested solutions, so you are pretty sure that it will work. And also, it's a common language, so you can communicate with your teammates much faster, much efficiently, much more efficiently. Okay, so I strongly recommend you to learn. And criticism of patterns. Always about anything there is some challenge. There are challenges for patterns. It's good to know them because some point you don't need to use them. So know this. Closure for a weak programming language. Sometimes we had a design pattern in 1995 because programs didn't support that. For example, strategy pattern. This doesn't mean that you don't use a strategy pattern, but in some point there are features in the language you are using that you don't need to use these patterns. Inefficient solution. Sometimes this solution cannot fix the problem because you need to adapt that to your project. You need to adapt them to the context of your project. If you don't, then it's gonna be inefficient. Unjustified use. Sometimes it's much easier to solve a problem. You can solve that problem pretty easy without using this. So it's not means that always you need to do this. So these are criticism exists against the design pattern. And finally, we will go how we classify this pattern. So classification of this pattern. Here we will do it in three main group pattern: creational pattern, structural pattern, behavioral pattern. I'll go below under. And there are other classification for them, but here we will go that, and we try to in detail we will go and say some extra category for that. So if you want to have a catalog for design pattern, we will go by this. So creational pattern. So you may say, what's the creational pattern? The patterns provide various object creation mechanism which increase flexibility and reuse of existing code. So help you to create new objects. This is the brief, and but in different way. For example, factory method, abstract factory, builder, prototype, and singleton. For sure, you heard about singleton. If you don't, you need to read this. Actually, we will go over any single of these patterns in the afters, and I recommend you need to understand any single of these. It's a must. You need to know them. Okay, factory method, for example. Let's just go for each category, one of them for now, and then later I'll go through details. So factory method, we have a problem. We want to create an object, but we don't know what's the classes. So factory method help us to create a object without specifying the class, or at least being able to override class in subclasses. Structure pattern. These patterns explain how to assemble objects and classes into larger structure while keeping this structure flexible and efficient. So help you to composite objects or put object together and make bigger object. Adapter, bridge, composite, decorator, facade, flyweight, proxy. These are actually classical structure pattern. I just pick up a facade and tell you, facade, you have a difficult API, you have a complex API, you want to simplify it. What do you do? With facade design pattern, you make it easier, because you have an object with, for example, 20 property, 20 attribute, but when you want to simplify, you just pick up those one that's really necessary and make some easier API for yourself, for your user. Behavioral pattern. The pattern are concerned with algorithm and assignments of responsibility between objects. So it's about object behavior together, how object work together, chain of responsibility, command, iterator, mediator, memento, observer, state, strategy, template method, visitor. These are our behavior design pattern. Just about the strategy we spoke before. Strategy, you have you want to have multiple behavior, multiple algorithm for one object. You may say, where? Give me sample. Yes, I give you sample. For example, you want to filter a text, a file, a text file with all words that has 3 characters. All word that start with capital letter. All word end with dot. All word that has 2 parts. So all of this, each of this is an algorithm. So with a strategy, you can make first of all one object, and then other wrapper, an object for that, and for then use then avoid to make for any adding any new algorithm to make this class. You just, with the strategy, you can make it much easier and faster. Or you want to write a navigator, so you want to do the project quickly because you can't wait until you've done all of the navigate. So what you do, first of all, you pick up navigate by walking, and then later you add different algorithm like navigate by car, navigate by bus, navigate by SkyTrain, navigate by C-Bus. So all of this gonna be different algorithm for you, and the strategy help you to handle this. And when you say a strategy, your teammate, your co-worker will understand what you mean. Yes, this design pattern is very important subject. Don't forget to be review this several times to understand this, any single part of this. And if you like this video, please make sure to give it thumbs up and be subscribed. And if you have any question, please ask in comment below. And yes, I advise you to watch our next video, which is the first design pattern of this series. Have a good one. Bye bye.